This is TVC News at 7. We begin in Abuja with a back and forth between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government seems to be far from settling. What that means is that students in public universities in Nigeria will have to spend more time at home, as the Academic Staff Union of Universities has again extended its ongoing strike by 4 weeks. President of the union, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, who disclosed this earlier today in a statement, said the decision was to give the government enough time to resolve all outstanding issues with the lecturers. He said the extension is with immediate effect on the 1st of August. Asuu declared a nationwide strike on the 14th of February over issues of poor welfare condition, failure to renegotiate earlier agreements signed, and the alleged imposition of IPPIS by the government. And as students in public universities hope for a quick resolve between the federal government and striking lecturers, the National Examinations Council is advising students writing the ongoing senior secondary certificate examination to desist from malpractices. That warning is coming from the management of NECO as it reaffirms its zero tolerance for examination malpractice. Senior correspondent Sharon Ijason reports.
To ensure that schools comply with the aims and objectives of its ongoing Senior Secondary Certificate Examination (SSCE), the Registrar of the National Examination Council (NECO) has been monitoring the conduct across Nigeria. This time, the Registrar, Professor Dantai Ibrahim Wushishi, is in Lagos to assess conduct of the examination unannounced.
From Oyo, we now move to Ogun State. We were at Abeokuta yesterday. We also monitor, talk to our staff, ask them questions, ask some stakeholders questions. They were happy about the conduct of the examination. We are here in Lagos. You can see for yourself. We went round and everything is going on fine. I had a chat with the principal of the school that we went to, and he told me that everything from the beginning of the examination, from the week of the practical up to this moment, they did not encounter any problem. Up to this moment that I'm speaking with you, I have report from those areas that everything is going on fine.
During the visit, Professor Wushishi said a total of 1,209,000 students across the country registered for the 2022 examination. He added that security measures have been put in place to ensure safety of the students. Sharon Ijason, TVC News.
Now to Kwara State, where Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak has promised to upgrade facilities at the government high school, Ilorin. He made the promise during the 55th anniversary of the school, which was established by his late father in 1967. Ibrahim Alege reports.
Sitting on 50 hectares of land, the then Ilorin College, Ilorin, was the first private secondary school in northern Nigeria established by the late father of the Kwara State Governor, AGF Abdulrazak, in 1967. It was taken over by the government in 1976 and renamed Government High School, Adita, Ilorin. Today, the school premises houses 4 other schools, including the federal government Smart School, constructed on the field of Government High School. At the 55th Founders' Day of the school, Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak acknowledges the need to upgrade the school's facilities.
We'll do the needful to make sure facilities in the school are upgraded to the best standards. You should expect more investments over the next 6 months, which will put the school in its right place as one of the first generation schools in Kwara State.
Apart from the previous investments of government on the school, the governor also grants some requests of the Old Students Association on the spot.
2 weeks ago, I ordered the contract for the internal roads of the school. I've had the request about the sports facilities. We'll do that. We'll also look at bringing back boarding facilities into the school.
And just like Oliver Twist, the old students of the school believe that Government High School Adita Ilorin deserves more.
Having gate men in the school is not enough for the security of the situation of the school. So we are begging them, otherwise all their efforts in building most of these facilities will go into vain because of the hoodlums.
One of the old students, now a professor, Dapo Adioye was the guest speaker at the event.
Today is here. Enjoy it and have the best of it. But you will reflect on the good times that you have had in the past. Don't dwell on your mistakes, on the negatives of the past that is going to drag you down and make you sad. You only learn from it.
Government High School at Dita Ilorin has produced thousands of students, many of whom are now well placed. Ibrahim Alige, TVC News, Ilorin.
Away from education to insecurity in the country, as we focus on Taraba State, where 30 police personnel have been sent to their early graves by terrorists. The security personnel met their untimely death through various attacks carried out by terrorists in Taraba State. Well, that's according to the State Police Command during an interview with TVC News. Owolabi Adenusi filed in this report.
The altercation between Fulani herders and Kutip farmers has now degenerated into a full-blown war in southern Taraba State. The crisis have claimed over 250 lives, with property worth several millions of naira destroyed and 25 villages deserted. This crisis had also resulted in the infiltration of the state by Fulani marauders, who have taken over the forest in the southern senatorial district, killing innocent citizens at will.
Actually, over 3 months ago, we have received massive and aggressive attacks from Fulani and stroke bandits. In fact, they have cleared over 30 villages.
The State Police Command is counting its losses as many of its personnel have been cut down in the battle to restore peace in the troubled areas.
We lost some of our men, like at 30 in Takum. We lost one of our own men there when there was an attack, and eventually military suffered greater losses than us.
The member representing Takum 1 constituency in the State House of Assembly, Garba Ajia, is calling for an end to the war and for the state government to set up a commission of inquiry to unravel those behind the crisis.
From the information available in the public domain, even on the social media regarding the crisis, I want to call on the Taraba state government to set up a commission of inquiry into this crisis with a view to unravel some of the facts and issues surrounding the crisis, which many are tagging it as politically motivated.
Several people have been killed. Many have lost their properties. And several of the villages around there are deserted. This is very unfortunate. This is not an acceptable thing, especially in communities that have been largely agrarian.
Some individuals, including politicians, have been fingered as readily aggravating the crisis further.
We want to urge the government to take more appropriate measures.
Mr. Ajia commends the Catholic Church and other churches that have taken in some of the IDPs. The state government had already sent relief materials to the displaced persons camps hosting over 120,000 victims. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and other local and international aid organizations are expected to intervene in the slowly building humanitarian crisis in the area before the situation gets out of hand completely.
Well, as if that was not enough, in Plateau State, the lives of 8 members of a family have been cut short by terrorists, while 2 others were injured in Danda Chugwi community of Jos South local government area. The family members were ambushed and killed by terrorists. While confirming the incident, Secretary of the Birom Youth Molders, Ruang Tengwok, said the attackers came into the compound around 9 p.m. on Sunday and started shooting sporadically, leading to the deaths of the 8 persons. Mr. Tengwok said the 2 persons injured sustained gunshot wounds and were taken to the Vom Christian Hospital for immediate medical attention. Locals say there are possibilities more persons were killed. Both the police and the Special Task Force maintaining law and order in the state are yet to confirm the attack. Well, for more on this disturbing trend on insecurity, let's speak with Chief Executive Officer, Security Watch Africa, Patrick Agbambu, who joins us live via Zoom from Abuja. Well, day after day, we hear of terrorist attack. Civilians, security, military personnel, no one seems to be spared. Just how worried are you about this development?
I would say that I'm very worried that lives are being cut short just anyhow by some of these enemies of the country and enemies of the people. I'm very worried about it, and it calls for a lot of concern that and question on how did we get here. Well, that is talking as a citizen, as a Nigerian, but as somebody who is into security, these are times that throws up some challenges that I believe needs to be solved urgently because the people needs to be protected. Just like you pointed out, if those who are to protect the citizens are being killed, then what hope is there for the ordinary citizen? So I'm worried, but I think that something can still be done.
The worry, is everywhere. Over the weekend, there was this viral report about the arrest of a suspected Boko Haram leader somewhere in southwestern Nigeria. Before now, the talk about Boko Haram used to be in the north, especially in the northeast, but it appears to be spreading. There seems to be great inroad made by these terrorists in different parts of the country. Would you say that arrest, for instance, if it's legitimate, is some progress in the fight against terror?
Yeah, it is progress. But I will tell you that Boko Haram elements, as we speak, even before now, are in every part of the country. It's not just today. So like some people may want to think that maybe it's the failure to tame them that has made them to spread. No, or the recent jail attack, the Kuje jail attack that some of the escapees are now going southwards. No, before now, they have been everywhere. The security agencies are on top of the situation to ensure that they are incapacitated and not able to create havoc and only limited to the areas where they can operate. And so that is what has been happening. So the arrest, as we're witnessing now, is as a result of the total onslaught to ensure that they do not continue causing mayhem or emboldened to continue creating problems for Nigerians.
Mr. Gbambo, but how do we deal with this decisively? It's 12 years of Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria. Thousands, millions of people are displaced, properties destroyed. I mean, people killed. How do we fight this?
Yeah, I must tell you the truth. The security forces in Nigeria have done so very well in managing the situation. Unlike other countries where you experience terrorism, like I have also said in several fora, I said, never allow terrorism to start in your country because when it comes, it's difficult, it may not go out again. And that is the reality. I'm telling the way it is. The security agencies have been so far able to keep them or reduce them to what they are today, or else it will have been worse than it is. But going forward, I believe that we need Nigerians to be able to work together with security agencies to be able to turn them further. Both the media and every citizen, everybody has a role to play in making sure that these people do not continue or become more dangerous for everybody. Like they say, security is everybody's business. And the best way to follow to be able to get this resolved is a whole of society approach, everybody. It's not a war between the security agencies and these terrorists or these bandits. No, Is this terrorists versus the citizens versus the country? The security agencies are just there helping to see how these evil people do not overwhelm the citizens. So they need the citizens to back them up with information, actionable information, and timely information is needed. And so until then, it's sad, but we may continue to witness these people spreading and these people creating more problems. The citizens must own this fight. They must own this war, and so that we can be able to overcome it.
Chief Security Officer, Security Watch Africa, Patrick Agbambu, thank you for your submissions on TVC News at 7.
Thank you very much.
Now, the federal government has announced a ban on the importation of SIM cards into the country. The Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, disclosed this earlier today in Lagos at the Nigerian Telecommunications Indigenous Content Expo, organized by the Nigeria Office for Developing Indigenous Telecom Sector of the Nigerian Communications Commission. The minister made it clear that the government would no longer tolerate the importation of SIM cards into the country. He stated that the nation was now producing SIM cards locally. According to him, the aim of the country was to increase indigenous content in the ICT sector so that by 2025, Nigeria would be self-reliant by at least 80%. The federal government has described the hike in the price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, as illegal. Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timipri Silva, spoke at a consultation forum on petroleum regulation in Abuja, where he claimed the federal government has not regulated the commodity. He, however, assured Nigerians that the hike in petrol pump price will be looked into. Celestina Area reports.
Section 216 of the Petroleum Industry Act's mandates the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to consult with stakeholders prior to finalizing any amendment to regulations. These regulations are integral in ensuring the Petroleum Industry Act is fully operational and will enable investment and ease of doing business, create employment opportunities for Nigerians, and prevent undue burdens on industry players. Regulations being considered are Petroleum Transportation and Shipment Regulations, Assignment and Transfer of License and Permit Regulations, Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Operations Regulations, Petroleum Pipeline Regulations, Gas Price and Domestic Demand and Delivery Regulations, Natural Gas Pipeline Tariff Regulations, Midstream and Downstream Decommissioning and Abandonments Regulations, Environmental Regulations for Midstream and Downstream Operations, Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Funds Regulations, Environmental Remediations Fund Regulations.
Regulation is like policy. This is the policy of doing this. There are guidelines. You have to do this. Of course, as a regulator, we are here to enable investment. At the same time, we are like police. We have to be guided by the provision of either the policy or the regulation.
But what do these regulations mean to the layman on the streets, motorists, commuters, small, medium and large-scale business owners who rely on petroleum products, especially fuel, to operate and stay in business? In recent times, 4 accused have disappeared and reappeared in FCT and environs, and was also accompanied by a hike in pump price. A litre which sold for 165 naira now sells for 175 naira or 185 naira per litre. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipri Silva, says the government did not increase the pump price of PMS.
Tell you authoritatively, we have not deregulated. The government is subsidizing. If there are increases in the price, it is not from the government. It's probably from the marketers. But of course, I will talk to the authority chief executive to ensure that they actually regulate the prices. But this is not from the government. We have not deregulated.
These regulations are the primary enablers of the federal government's Decade of Gas initiative and will help capitalize investment and enhance the attractiveness of the domestic gas value chain. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's talk health now. Are you aware that World Breastfeeding Week is an annual celebration which is held every year from the 1st to 7th of August in more than 120 countries? Well, this year's theme is Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support. The theme is aimed at encouraging breastfeeding as a very important aspect in the early development of a baby. WHO and the American Academy of Pediatrics emphasize the value of breastfeeding for mothers as well as children. Both bodies also recommend exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life and then supplemented breastfeeding for at least 1 year and up to 2 years or more. This provides many health benefits, critical nutrients, protection from deadly diseases such as pneumonia, and fostering growth and development on newborn. Well, a public health physician from the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Dr. Tony Adeyemi, joins me live now via Zoom for more on the importance of breastfeeding. Doctor, an entire week to celebrate breastfeeding. Why is it so important?
Breastfeeding is really important, and we even need more than a week to actually celebrate it and create awareness, because we're having children every day, and it is very vital for childhood growth and survival. As earlier mentioned, it protects these children against childhood illnesses, two of the most fatal that are responsible for the highest causes of childhood death, maternal childhood morbidity and mortality, diarrhea and pneumonia. So it's actually very important, because it's not just the woman we're focusing on. We need all the actors involved. We need to send these advocacy messages to the government, to the health sector, both the formal and informal health sector. We need to send those messages out even to workplaces, so that we can have enabling workplace breast policies that support breastfeeding. We need to get this message out even to our lawmakers. We need to get this message out to as many people as possible. So we need a week to actually get this message out to the public.
And the theme for this year is really supporting that. Step up for breastfeeding, educate and support. Talking about educating and support, how would you say we can create safe spaces for nursing mothers? Because, of course, breastfeeding should be an intimate experience.
How do we create what spaces?
Yes, safe spaces for the nursing mothers to be able to breastfeed the baby. Because, you know, in the community today, depending on the nature of job of the individual, sometimes you're on the bus, you're on the street, and there are eyes staring at the mother while she's breastfeeding.
Yeah, so that's why we need a lot of advocacy, because the woman alone cannot undergo this task of breastfeeding her child. So she needs a lot of support from people around. It starts, first of all, within the family, a supportive husband, supporting children. Then when you get to the community level also, there should be stigma against women bringing out maybe their breast to breastfeed out in public. And there should also be enabling environment. There should be a supportive physical environments and built up environments, such that even in public spaces, you have rooms designated for nursing mothers. In workplaces, it should be mandated that every workplace should have a room designated for nursing mothers, because as you mentioned, the WHO recommends that the first 6 months, the child should be exclusively breastfed. Then after 6 months, breastfeeding should continue up to 2 years of age, such that even when the woman returns back to work after 6 years, or if she has to take her baby around with her, there's a place at the market. We should have spaces, clean and safe spaces, where these women can adequately breastfeed their children. These are some of the enablers, some of the things that would ensure that we have more women breastfeeding their children for up to 2 years, and especially the first 6 months of life.
All right, but Dr. Adeyemi, it's not unusual to hear some women say they are not lactating well enough. What would you say to such mothers?
Okay, so there's really no situation as not lactating enough. Fine, I know it's a reality. Some people say that. However, the way the breast milk mechanism goes, the more you put your child to breast, the more the child suckles on the breast, the more you initiate the whole breastfeeding, the breast milk production. So you need to, if a woman is not lactating well enough, she needs to put the child to breast more often. And all this education actually starts from the antenatal period, such that, because we know that some of these challenges could actually occur, especially among first-time mothers. So we have health education talks during antenatal. In other climes, we have things called, people called breastfeeding or lactation consultants. So they help walk the woman through this whole breastfeeding period, because breastfeeding would definitely come with a lot of challenges, especially for first-time mothers. But yes, a woman not lactating enough should keep her teeth, and before long, the breast milk will start flowing out properly and flowing well, actually.
Well, Dr. Tony Adiemi, thank you very much for educating us on this topic tonight on TVC News at 7.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk politics now. The Labour Party has disclosed that it will come up with its campaign team in the coming days. As an inaugural briefing of the support group, it identified that the tone and texture of campaign should not be one that is aggressive, but that speaks to contemporary realities. Habida Lawal reports, and we'll be back with business news.
With a few weeks to the formal takeoff of electioneering activities, the main contenders for the 2023 election are taking on different issues affecting the polity. Violent crimes, including terrorism, kidnapping and banditry, are on an upward swing. The Labour Party candidate support group Obedient Movement is having its maiden outing. At this inaugural press conference, it expresses confidence their candidates can salvage the expanding ungoverned space in Nigeria.
We want to present a message of hope to Nigerians, that regardless of the hopelessness, there is a shining light at the end of the tunnel if we can just hold on a little longer. Obedient Movement is also not limited to Nigeria, as our diaspora community, consisting of some of the most brilliant brains, victims of what we call brain drain.
Really been active.
The vice presidential candidate of the party, Dati Baba Ahmed, has also confirmed that he does not have any presence on social media, neither does he pass any information on social media. Reacting to reports from social media handles, the Labour Party vice presidential candidate has disclaimed any presence whatsoever on the platform. He says the party will roll out its campaign team in few days.
What you see there are not me. Simple. And the questions are fairly related. Specifics. In the last 3 weeks, my honorable team tried to have one verified that has not yet been verified. So up till this moment, I do not have a verified social media. So for safety reasons, consider all of them as unauthentic and fake.
A lot of citizens are apprehensive about the challenges confronting the country and its implication on the nation's stability. As the 2023 election approaches, it is expected that political contenders need to factor in core issues in their campaign. To other observers, the war of words between major political candidates represent a fallout of a faulty political system in Nigeria. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
Still staying with us on TVC News tonight, it's now time to bring you the latest from the world of business. We now started with Nigeria's external reserves, which added $45.3 million in the month of July, and that's according to the latest report from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The foreign exchange as of the 28th of last month moved to $39.22 billion from the $39.17 billion it had earlier commenced the month. The Apex Bank also attributed the steady increase in external reserves to its RT $200 billion foreign exchange program, stressing that the policy unveiled in February this year has revived foreign exchange earnings from non-oil proceeds. Now, despite the increase in price of crude oil, Nigeria's external reserves have depreciated by $1.3 billion in 7 months of this year to $39.2 billion as of July the 29th from the $40.5 billion which is closed last year. And now in the power sector, in order to arrest cases of blowouts in power installations and homes, public and private organizations, the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA, has pledged to enforce technical standards and regulations in the power sector. Addressing journalists at a stakeholders meeting put together by the agency in Lagos, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NEMSA, Aliyu Tukur Tahir, explained that the mandate of NEMSA is very crucial to Nigeria's socio-economic development, as power remains at the hub of industrial development in the country. He also notes that hazards with the use of electricity must be well mitigated, hence development of standards and regulations by NEMSA to ensure that those that work within the power sector value chain abide by the rules guiding the use and deployment of electricity in a safe manner.
Our mandate is very crucial in the country because it has to do with electricity. Electricity is a good servant, but a bad master. It's a good servant because we use it to do so many things in our houses, factories, because without electricity there is no development.
NEMSA is supposed to have area offices in the old 36 and federal capital. But as we talk, we have only 19 area offices. Therefore, we are working very hard round the clock to make sure that we are giving adequate provisions to be able to employ good hands, good engineers, professionals, to be able to carry out the function and the mandate of NEMSA.
We need to have an attitudinal change, because our attitudes towards work, towards implementing, towards operating, towards regulating, towards policymakers need to be upgraded, to the standard of our international, expectation. So I think we need to improve on our attitudes.
And away from the power sector now, industry stakeholders in the market and communication space have urged practitioners to stimulate hard work, innovation and overall quality in marketing planning and execution in Nigeria. Addressing journalists at the inauguration of the Nigerian Marketing Awards in Lagos, the convener, Tony Agamuman, stated that the new award initiative is informed by the need to redefine how the hard work in marketing and highly professional marketing professionals should be celebrated. According to the former president of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, one of the measures put in place to ensure the credibility of the award is to seek the approval of relevant regulatory bodies in the industry and enlist marketing communication practitioners with proven track records into the award selection panel. However, notes that the initiative will recognize and reward activities that go above and beyond, pushing the boundaries of marketing in all ramifications whilst encouraging creativity and innovation.
Globally, marketing awards are very powerful ways of celebrating the creativity and effectiveness of hard-working individuals and teams in marketing. They are designed to motivate and drive more business while celebrating great work. As marketing professionals, innovation is a key part of our responsibilities. What was great yesterday may not be good enough for today.
We would like to partner with the media. Obviously, awards, whether marketing awards, any form of award, thrives on media. So we will be inviting the media to really partner with us in creating this. This should be a content that every Nigerian professional will be proud of, a content that we will be able to show anywhere and hold our heads high.
And now moving on to this next report, the Nigeria Customs Service has destroyed 48 containers of fake pharmaceutical drugs imported into the country through the nation's seaports. The pharmaceuticals were destroyed at the waste destruction site belonging to the Lagos State Waste Management Agency in Ekpe, Lagos. TVC News correspondent Ifeanyi Eze has the details on this report.
Thousands of cartons of illicit pharmaceuticals that were seized after examination revealed that they are substandard and fake. Present to witness the destruction of the seized drugs were the customs delegation led by the Assistant Comptroller General, Enforcement, Inspection and Investigation, Usman Dakingari, including Area Comptroller for Apapa Customs Command, Yusuf Malanta, and the national spokesman of the service, Timi Bomodi, in collaboration with officials of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and the Department of State Services.
Most of these drugs, because of all these anomalies observed, they are automatically seized condemned by competent courts of law, and hence they are forfeited to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
No evidence of registration. Those drugs, nobody can say anything. We cannot guarantee their formulation. We cannot guarantee the active pharmaceutical ingredient present in the drugs. And we have many of them like tramadol, we have analgesics, we have anti-malaria drugs, various that are in the containers. So we now discover that since no evidence, no certificate of analysis, these drugs, they are not fit for human consumption.
The area controller of Apapa Customs Command, Yusuf Malanta, explains that the drugs contravened sections 46 and 47 of the Customs Excise Management Act and therefore were liable to seizure.
All these imports contravene the section of the SEMA, different section of the SEMA, section 46, section 47, and other schedules in the Nigerian Customs Service. And that is why we have no option than to ensure that this item has been seized to avoid going into society so that it can be detrimental to human health.
The worry is that unregulated drugs like the ones destroyed were fueling banditry, kidnapping and insecurity in the country. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
And I'll bring you the activities from the Nigerian Exchange. The stock market resumed trade in full the first week in the month of August with lower prices as many investors stayed on sales windows. Efingekop reports on the market.
Stock trading was down throughout the long hours of business following sales pressure mounted by investors. The depth of losses was huge as index dipped by 0.83%. Boa Cement and Access Corporation were heavily down following the effects of the negative trades. NECO, Nimeth, International Breweries and Main Baker also lost price values at the close of business. The chart of gain has showed Keveton Aviation, Cotsville, Champion Breweries, Unity Bank and Japol Gold. Low trade volume of 176 million shares worth 2.27 billion naira were traded in market subsectors. And outside Nigeria, markets traded in mixed territories due to various conditions. It was negative in South Africa, where investors at the Johannesburg Exchange sold off huge volumes of government bonds and companies' equities. In Kenya, the Nairobi securities market closed in green. This followed strong bids for shares of banks and manufacturing companies. Finally, the stock market in Accra, Ghana closed downward following weak trades in market subsectors. Ifyong Ekop TVC News, Lagos.
And wrapping up business news tonight, oil prices on the international market dropped today as weak manufacturing data from China and Japan for the month of July weighed on the outlook for demand, while investors brace for this week's meeting of officials from OPEC and other top producers on supply adjustments. Yes, West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price dip of 0.86% to sell at $97.77 per barrel. Brent crude now sells at about $103.70 per barrel, registering a downward price margin of 0.29%. Bonner Light's performance is, however, still also starting the week in the red zone, trading at $118.10 per barrel, with a price decline of 3.25%. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $110.80 per barrel, recorded a price surge of 2.53%.